Hi there. This is Carol Gordon. I am the project manager for the BNC CataList project at BookNet Canada. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about what we call our advanced tools for sales reps. So what do we mean by advanced tools? So in the last session we did last week, we looked at sort of the essential tools for sales reps. The basic things around using the search features, creating custom catalogs to share with accounts, being able to add and manage notes, content, and comparable titles, that type of thing. So what we want to be able to do here is talk a little bit more about customizable features in CataList, and then also build on some of the tools that we looked at in the last session. So feel free to look at the last session if there's, it'll be recorded and posted. So that'll be available for you to look at, and if that's, if some of those things are of interest to you. But what we want to look at is kind of taking the next steps beyond those basic tools, the basic things that some of the national accounts might be asking you for. I want to be able to just put you some additional tools in your hands to help you out a little bit more. So some of the things we're going to look at today, we're going to look at the PDF, those PDF templates, the ability to build contact lists, add new contacts into CataList, create lists of contacts that you want to be able to share notes and other content like custom catalogs to. And we're also going to talk about taking orders for accounts. Hopefully that is a tool that if you're presenting a list from CataList, especially to accounts that maybe don't have POS systems, they'll give you an easy way to keep track of what those accounts want to order, be able to give you an easy thing to export at the end of the day to either import into your systems or forward to your customer service team, however you want to do that. We are going to start with looking, though, at the customizing options for PDF exports. We know that many of your accounts would just prefer a paper copy, and sometimes it is handy for sure if you just want to have, something to scan or something to hand out as a quick reference. I'm actually going to escape out of my presentation here, and we're going to spend time actually looking at CataList itself. So we'll look at, we're actually looking at CataList, and we're going to just try out a couple of different things and look at those templates. So you can do this for, if you build a template, you can export any catalog as that custom template format. But I'm just going to jump into my page and I'm going to use the test catalog that we created last week in this test account. So when I'm looking at any catalog, I have the ability to export to a number of sort of the default PDF versions that we have. And I will just call each of them so we can have a quick look. But there is basically a single title per page version. Every title gets its own page. A list version where we get 5 on a page in a scrolling type list. And a tile version that is set up with columns and rows. And that has 12 by default. So just while those are running, we'll open them in a minute. But each of those is going to also get the things that you included in your catalog setup. So if you put a custom cover image on it, if you put a front or end pages, I think this one has some end pages here, they'll automatically be added. And then, of course, the content in between. So let's just have a look at the ones as they're coming back here. This title has about 50 titles in it. Tile comes back pretty quickly. So we get our cover image, we get our basic bibliographic data. In the list view, we get our 5 titles on a page. Pretty straightforward again. And of course, we're just limited to filling in as much space as we have available in the template as is given for the space available. So let me just see if our last one, it's almost done. But we can actually get started looking at the templates while that's finishing. So if you have if you have no custom templates listed, all you're going to see is the option for the, that's opening. It's just slow because it's a big one, 50 titles. That full version. There we go. The full page version, single page versions, also will have automatically, I opened it twice, downloaded it and opened it twice, I didn't need to do that. We'll also have a pre-populated table of contents. So when you're printing them out, you actually have a reference for that as well. And so each page gets filled up with the default version, whatever is selected. But there may be content that your company has, additional things like marketing content. You might have notes that you've added, all of those kinds of things that you might want to see represented. So we have added the ability for you to customize templates. So I'm just going back to our page, and what we have here, we have the option to create a template. So if you haven't created one yet, you can actually just create one directly from the page here. You can actually also go into My Page and manage PDF templates from My Page. So whether you have ones that you have existing already, you can actually just jump into them right here. You can create new, or you can manage more. So let's give our template a name, and let's play with one right now. Let's just play with the tile. And maybe we want to have more titles than 12. 12 is not quite enough, so maybe we want to do, instead of 4 by 3, let's do 4 by 5. And then you choose a base template. So we know we're going to do a variation on the tile. So if you want to just be adding or removing content from the single, you would start with a single. If you want to do the list, you can change the number of rows, change the amount of information that's in each one of those rows. And the tile, you can actually change quite a bit. You can change the bibliographic data that's in there. You can swap out cover image for barcode, and you can change the number of rows and columns. So I'm going to just create this one, and we'll have a look at what we can do. Oh, and I'm going to go back to my page without saving, because I did not select tile. Create new template. List. 4 by 5, and we want to start with a tile. So you got to make sure you select. If you do what I just did and you didn't hit the right one, you can just exit out of it, come back and just try again. So we're going to start with a tile. There we go. So I can see I've kind of got these grayed in little areas that represent the container. That is how each one of my titles is going to be formatted. And so we're starting with the default version that CataList already has set up. But what we want to do is we want to customize this. So when I hit customize, it actually is going to open up a little previewer where we can actually change the number of titles that we are putting in each column and in each row. So in this one, I've called it list 4 by 5. So I've changed the number of columns to 5, the number of columns to 4, the number of rows to 5. We can actually preview what that looks like. So as you can see, we've scrunched up our information quite a lot. Some of it may not all make it in to the size of the box. So maybe we want to customize it a little bit further. So let's see. Let's review. Here's all of our bibliographic data. And maybe there's some things here that we don't really need. Maybe we don't need the age range. Maybe we don't need the subject. Maybe. Well, maybe let's leave subject in. And we'll just leave it at top level. You can actually make it a full version, so you get the whole subject literal, but we're just going to go with top level, which would be, your fiction or science, top level BISAC. So let's try that. Let's preview that and see what that looks like. Now, we still got quite a lot of content there. So let's customize a little bit more. Maybe we can take out dimensions, take out page count. Let's just see. So that's close. Unless our book titles are very long, we're likely going to fit most of that in. So let's try that and we'll save it. So now when I look at my PDF template, I actually have another version. So if I go back to my best Lama books, when I go to export any catalog, whether it's a seasonal catalog that's been posted by a publisher or one of my own custom catalogs, I can still pull any of those defaults. But I also will have a list of any of my custom ones that I've designed. So if I pull that 4x5 version, and this will take too long to put together. There we go. That's how books for stores. You can actually see there that I'm mostly fitting most of that content in. One of the more useful things for that you can do with the tile version, not the most beautiful version, when you've got a lot of different sized covers like we do in this one. But let's say we want to, let's go to Manage Templates. Let's say we want to do something similar to this, but instead of having the tiles with the cover images, let's say we wanted to do something that's just barcodes and the information. I know this is something that's commonly done in the industry when you've got something, you're at a trade show and you just want to have a reference that you can do a quick scan to enter, or retailers can do quick scanning. I'm going to make a copy of this one, so I don't need to go through and change all the bibliographic data. I have that all set. I have my columns and rows set. I just want to make one quick change. And so when I edit this, I'm going to edit the name of it, 4x5 barcodes. I'll save that. And then when I go into customize my content, I can actually keep all of that other information, but I'm going to just swap. I'm going to select barcode. I'm going to turn off cover image. So I'll get my barcode and save that. So now I have two templates. One is based on the other, and I use the make a copy feature to make a new version of it. And when I go and look at my custom catalog now, I have the option of which one I want to pull down. But I my barcodes now. And we'll give that a second to create. And there's my catalog with scannable barcodes, my title, author information, pub date, price, and subject and publisher. So the very basic information, as you can see, 4 across, it easily fits. You can do 5 here. You can do up to a maximum of 5 across and 6 rows. So you can actually get 30 titles on a page. If you've got a long catalog, it's not a bad way to go to do the tile version. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's something you can really just have a lot of fun with. Manage more templates. We'll create another new one. Something you can just kind of go back and forth. You can go and make changes on existing ones. If you do a single or a list, we'll look at the single. We saw this briefly, but you can actually, like in this version, but I called it new list and then I chose a single. But anyways, edit, call it new single with notes. Just call it single with notes. We'll save that. When you're customizing this version, you have the option to add a lot. There's so much content that you could put on this page if you are supplying it or your company is supplying it. You can include first print information, catalog item number, if you want that numbering from the catalog so that you match what's in the system so people can find things easily by number. If you're doing suggested orders or order content, you can add that. Notes, whether it's just your own notes, shared notes, notes that are shared to you, you have all those options. Promotion plans, interior images, if you want, you've got interiors for kids, we'll put up to the first 2 images, just little thumbnails, enough to get a sense of what those titles are, comparable titles. Notes you'll see is actually here in the left and the right, and I believe reviews is as well. So you can choose whether that content goes into the main center column, which is a little bit wider for viewing, or whether it goes into the right column. So depending on which information you want, you can decide to a certain degree where it's going to go as well for some of those bigger items. So you can preview, make those changes, preview what that's going to look like. You can kind of see if you may have, if all of your content is maxed out, if your contributor bios are fairly short, this is probably not a worry for you, but you can actually kind of see top and bottom of the page and where you may end up with cutoff issues for text content. So something to play with. The list version is very similar. Let us know if you have questions, if you're trying to do something and you're having an issue, get in touch with us and we'd be happy to walk you through some of the tips and techniques. But you can get a sense, I think, here of how you can add additional templates. I will just mention if you have additional levels of access, if you are an account manager or a catalog creator, you actually can share your content. So you'll be able to see if other people have shared content, shared layouts with you. So, and you have, if they're shared by the, shared centrally, then you have access to all of those without having to build your own. But you absolutely can. You can make copies of them and make your own variation or version. So it's a really useful tool. Lets you just kind of put together whatever versions you would like to have at hand or to be able to export for your users. So the next thing that I wanted to go through was contacts and contact lists. So for this, custom catalog, we shared 2 users. We've added them one at a time. It was, pretty straightforward. We'll go in and we'll look at the edit recipients. And it's the same feature that we use for edit and for adding recipients on catalogs and adding recipients on notes. So when you're using contact lists, they're available for, again, both of those uses. So in this case, we've added 2 users, and those are really the only 2 users that we have available to us to use in this test account, but that's fine. We can show you the premise. So I don't really have anyone else to add, but maybe I do actually have someone that I want to share this to you. They're not opted into the directory, and I want to just add them as a contact so that I can use them personally in my account and in managing notes and custom catalogs. So I can actually access the contact list feature directly from an editing screen. I can also access it from my settings menu. It is actually, you have your personal settings where you can manage your signups for mailing lists and all of that stuff. You can set your password, reset your password if you need to do that. But contact list gives you the ability to add some contacts and also to create groups of contacts. So I'm going to create a new list. And in this one, I'm just going to add one user. I want to share a custom catalog. The user is not listed in the directory. Sometimes all it takes is to ask them to opt in, but some people may not want to do that. You may want to add them as a contact, and then you can easily share contact with them anytime. So in this case, I'm just going to add a let's call Buyer Joe. So we've added a list name, and we're actually just going to say Joe at bookstoretest.ca. So here's Joe's contact, and we're just going to add. So we're just going to say we don't know anything about this person. If they are actually already signed up for CataList, we can sometimes just make a match. We can actually tell you have their address. We can tell you that, yes, they're signed up and we have the company. If you're sharing custom catalogs specifically to people, they will be prompted to log in if they try and access your catalogs or to sign up. We can do that pretty quickly for them. They can sign up directly and access those catalogs. But a lot of times it's just that people they don't want to opt into the directory. So you can add them here. If you are an administrator or a catalog creator, you can share your contact list. So you can create contact lists that all of your reps have access to instead of everyone having to load these contacts on their own. You can do those shared ones. But if you need to just add someone, you can actually do that, and we can just save. So we've added Joe Buyer. So when Buyer Joe, we want to go now. Actually, my catalog is still open here. I don't even need to go back. And we want to tag Buyer Joe. Buyer Joe will just come up. We just start typing his name, and he'll come up as just a single contact list. So we can add that. We'll go back to our contact list here. If I want to create a list where I'm just going to tag, so tag one contact list to share to all buyers, to all personnel that I have added in that list, you can do that as well. So I'm going to create a new list. And let's just say this is all toy and gift. Or maybe it's toy and kids books. So you can sort your list by the type of content that you're sharing. So if you're creating a custom catalog, you have to create a lot of custom catalogs for your gift stores or your non-book stores or garden centers or toys and book and toy stuff. You can build distribution lists with all of your contacts for those particular pieces. And it's super simple. Then if you are down the road, you sign a new garden center, you can just add that buyer to your garden center list, and they will automatically have access to any of the catalogs and notes that you've already entered in the system and tagged that list on. So it's a really powerful tool for managing this kind of distribution group. So this is an active list. I'm still using this. The thing about it, you can disable lists if they're no longer active. If Buyer Joe leaves and is replaced by someone else who's in the list, and you don't need Buyer Joe to ever pop up again in your list suggestions when you're tagging buyers, you can simply deactivate the list. This one, however, is going to be active, and we are going to add a bunch of people. So you can just look through all of your list, and Buyer Joe info at bookstoretest.ca, so you can add your additional buyers there. So you do need to actually enter in the list. But when you only have an email address and they're not in the list, in the directory, so you can make a mix of directory contacts and other contacts. And new at bookstore, at all caps bookstoretest.ca, and save. So now I've got a couple of lists. I can see who's in those lists. I can see how many contacts they are. And then same thing, whether I'm adding a note or I'm adding managing with two catalog recipients, new shared note, and I can share. This is already shared to Lucy Maud in the test library, but I can actually just add the what did I call my contact list? Manage contact list. I can't remember what I called it. Toy and kids buyers. Can access those contact lists pretty easily if toy and kids books. Add. So I can add, and you can see how many contacts are in that list. So it gives you a visual to remember how much content is there. So I can share that now. And so I'll see my new shared note. All right, so that's kind of the overview on contact lists. And now let's say that we are selling to our new friend, buyer Joe, whether we're on the phone or however we're doing our meeting, and buyer Joe either doesn't have a POS system, you're just taking an order, you just want to be able to have an easy way. You can write it down if that's what you're happy with. Take an export of your tile PDF and just write numbers next to it, by all means. But if you want to actually take your order directly in CataList, you can actually start a new order. So we need to enter a name for the order, Joe Buyer Fall 2020. The account name. This is a required element, so if we're looking, we can look at the BNC test bookstore. We can just tag it automatically. Everything will get picked up. If your bookstore that you're looking for is not in the, I'm going to correct that spelling. If your bookstore is not found in the autocorrect, you can add a new bookstore. It will ask you to set up a contact and to set up a bookstore name, but you can do that in the system automatically as well. Optionally, you can add a purchase order, Joe 123. If you're selling from if this is a promotion that you're taking an order for, you can put your promotion code in. This will all get picked up in the order export. Comments, if you want to put a comment from our meeting on this date, you can optionally do that as well. And then we'll just start the order. So when you start an order, it'll have your order name up top. It'll keep a running list of the quantity and the list price total. And it's going to just kind of follow you through. So we need to either jump into this either title by title, or in this case, I'm just going to jump over to the scroll view because you can enter your order quantities there, which is a useful thing. So this account that I chose actually has multiple stores set up. So if I've set a suggested quantity in my order, I'll see it here. If the account is logged in, they actually will be able to to see their suggested order quantities and so forth as well. So they will not see your specific order. You're not looking at the same order at the same time, but they will be able to access your order after you're done. So one thing to maybe just make sure is who's taking the order on what side. Most of the multi-store accounts are going to be doing their ordering on their side. This is more usually a tool for you to set up accounts, to set up and take orders for an account that perhaps has no POS and that type of thing. But as you go through, you can actually just add your order quantities for whatever the account is looking for. So you can do this in the scroll view. You can do this in the title by title view. If I jump into this one, for example, in my order box here, 422. And you can just keep going as you'll see your order. Now we're up to 30 books in total and what our retail price is. So I can jump directly to look at the order here. When I'm all done, I can also go into my orders and I can see all of the orders that I've entered. So you can actually see, you can close off orders when they're done. I could look at this order. I can export it to an Excel file. I can then take that order and send it over to my, I'll export it right now. So here's my order. I've got my ISBN, title, etc., with all of my order quantities by store. So you can actually send a copy to the buyer and say, here's a copy of our order. You want to verify it, or you can just send it directly to your customer service. If you've got an ability to do an upload with just an ISBN, a quantity, and a store ID, you can do those uploads directly. So, and again, because we've tied specific stores to this, if the stores log into CataList in future, we can actually match those things up and give them access to historical orders that have been taken for them. So it's a useful tool to kind of hopefully minimize some of the, rekeying and re-entry of orders at the end of the day. So maybe faster or more comfortable to take that PDF export and just scribble down some numbers. If you can you may find that there's an opportunity to get into a different habit of just going down that scroll view and plugging those numbers in as you're doing the sales, and then saving yourself some work and re-entry at the end of the day. So you can close off these orders, hide closed orders. No problem, just close it off. Closed orders can still be viewed by the stores. You can reopen it if you want to add something. The buyer contacts you at the end and says, oh, we missed something, or I changed my mind, I want to order more or less of this one that we talked about. You can actually do that as well. The other benefit is that when looking at a title, the store can actually see if they have an order quantity against that already. So if they're logged in here, you'll actually they'll be able to see if they look at the orders, they'll see below it that this has already been ordered. So it's a useful thing for the retailers to see as well. If you have questions about setting up new stores, we can also do like a group. If you're going to start doing taking orders for retailers, we can do a check. If you want to send us a list of accounts that you're planning to sell to, we can kind of make sure that they're set up in advance to save you the time of setting up on the fly. But let us know how things are going with this, and if you need any help getting started. That pretty much wraps up our tour of sort of some of the advanced tools. We'd love to know how they're working for you. Feel free to get in touch with us with questions or feedback anytime. CataList@booknetcanada.ca. Thanks very much, and happy selling.